NSCoder Chicago.
Welcome to
NSCoder Chicago.
Welcome to
NSCoder Chicago. NSCoder Chicago.
Welcome to
Thanks for joining us for the 13th episode of NSCoder Chicago podcast. As usual, we'll be discussing iOS development, career, and technology in general, and we really can't help but talk about AI in this day and age. Look for the NSCoder Chicago podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and feel free to participate in the discussion by commenting on our YouTube comments. You can find our YouTube channel by searching NSCoder Chicago, or join the discussion in person at our meetup.
Yeah, NSCoder Chicago is a monthly meetup. We get together on the last Tuesday of every month. We're focused on Mac and iOS and Vision OS and Watch OS and iPad OS developers, but all are welcome. If you're excited about Apple, you just like talking about Apple and technology, you are all more than welcome. At every meeting, we'll have pizza, usually a presentation, and a lot of conversation. So we'd love to see you. More information is available on our website, nscoder-chicago.com, or you can find us on Meetup, meetup.com. Just search for NSCoder Chicago or Chicago Apple Meetup. You'll find us.
That's right, and we're at the front of the month here, so you've got some weeks to prepare for the next one.
Yeah, get ready.
Yes, I plan to be there, and I hope to see you there.
Yeah, we'd love to see you.
My name is David.
And my name is Sean.
Thanks for joining us.
In the past, as we've talked about our changing industry and AI and the job market, I've alluded to this Star Trek economy, the post-capitalism world, and I'm going to take a swing at describing what I see as, the hopefully best case future ahead of us. And so, for those that might be tuning in for very specifically developer talk, this is going to be far afield of that. So, fair warning. But I hope you'll enjoy this discussion, and as we always say, we'd love to hear from you. So come down to NSCoder and we'll talk about it there.
This seems like an exciting one. I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, we'll see. So the Star Trek economy, as I've called it, I think like other I don't know. I think I've seen it on blogs and stuff. Like, if you think of the show Star Trek, there's no money. People when you watch Star Trek shows and movies are free to do what they want to do. There's still businesses. There's spaceships. There's people making art and commerce and like all the things that we would recognize as like high tech.
Okay.
A high tech human world.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no money. There's no.
Wow.
There's an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation where these people from I think it's the 21st century, are in deep sleep and they're woken up, and one of the guys is like, "Oh, I got to check my stock portfolio. Like, I must be rich." And all the the crew of the Enterprise is like, "My dude."
Oh, what a disappointment.
I got good news and bad news.
Wow. Wait, so are you saying the guys on those ships doing all that exploration, they were all volunteers?
Well, see, that's I'm sure there's a Star Trek Extended Universe book or a technical manual that goes into more depths. Like, I can do more research on the topic, but
okay, yeah.
In short, yeah, there's no money. Like, people have everything, because in Star Trek, especially in the Next Generation and the shows after that, there's replicators. So if you want a cup of tea, you go to the replicator and you say Earl Grey hot, and you have a cup of tea. You don't need to eat. And energy is free as well, because there's solar energy, there's dilithium crystals. Like, there's nothing. It's post scarcity,
Okay. Wow. I really do this. Sounds great. I hope we are moving in that direction.
Well, that's the scary thing every time we talk about AI, because I mean, already I'm not going to go and do the math, but arguably we have enough capital for everyone on the planet to live very comfortably.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not everyone could be Bill Gates.
Sure.
But there's more than enough capital around that everyone could have more than enough. And the reason why that doesn't exist is because there are, systems and borders and processes and states and
Yeah.
it's complicated.
Right. We're working with a pretty old-fashioned system.
Yeah.
A slow-moving one.
Yeah. Like money and ideas can move pretty quickly, but like actual systematic change, it can be creaky. It moves in fits and starts.
Yeah.
There's been I think it was a tweet, or I don't know, like a memeified sort of screenshot of like I, I don't know who to attribute it to, but it was like where we've got like um emotional uh Paleolithic brains
Hmm.
with medieval systems of government
Oh,
and technology,
yeah.
trying to make sense of the world,
Mm.
and like the culture, brains,
Mm-hmm.
laws can't move as quickly.
Wow. That's a better way to look at it than I originally have thought. I
Which part?
the part that these are systems that have worked in the past and just continue to survive today, which there's no denying that. Um, but I've had a much more simpler look of like governments are just the biggest gangs around, and they do what they need to preserve their power.
Yeah, anytime anyone accumulates power, capital, like even the best of people have a hard time then giving away, even if you
Yeah.
don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just self-fulfilling. So even if
Yeah.
you're, even if you go into government and you get elected and you mean well, it's tough once you got the power and the money. You're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh well, I got to keep the power and the money. Like,
Yeah. Well, if I look back to when I was a kid, I thought I would feel rich if I had more than like a couple thousand in the bank,
mm-hmm.
Even 1,000 seemed like a lot back then, and it's
Yeah,
not nothing today, but it's not a lot either.
yeah,
But I think what happens is as you gain more in life, you start to realize what you do and don't have access to, what your risks are, and the need to prepare for them.
yeah,
And it's almost like at any level, there are going to be new things to kind of defend, your life against.
yeah.
I think that's what it is. I'd like to believe that we're not just like selfish for the sake of being selfish, but that at every level that there's a new realization for problems. More money, more problems, right?
well, well said. As the great philosopher said, more
Oh
money, more
yeah.
problems. Yeah,
Yeah.
the hedonism treadmill catches all of us, where like there's always the next thing, right? Like
Mhm.
as you and I have talked about in the past, I don't know if I gave a number, but before I worked in software,
Mhm.
right out of school at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, I think I made like $32,000 that first year, and I was
Okay.
like, I am rich. I have so much money. And now you David, and you listener, you depending on where you are, you might be like, wow, that's pretty good, or you might be like, oh, that poor fool.
True, there might be some people who still think that's good. I would have thought that was great
Yeah,
in college.
yeah. But then yeah, you do the math and you're like, God, I could be so comfortable if I had a few more dollars.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, if I made this much, I'd be rich. If I
Yeah.
made that much, I'd be like crazy wealthy. And
Oh
then
yeah.
hopefully you get there,
Right.
and then and then you're like, well, this is good, but I still have to fly economy plus.
Yeah.
I should fly Polaris. I should have a private lounge. Why can't I spend $30,000 on a plane ticket? And you're
Yeah.
like, well,
For
oh
me,
boy.
it's like the next Vision Pro comes out, and I'm like, oh, if only.
Yeah, this man deserves all the Vision Pros.
Yes. And so in the Star Trek economy, I would just use a replicator to get a new Vision Pro. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean
Wow.
that's the I mean to say, hey everybody, we should just go to Star Trek. Like that sounds crazy because it's a show and there's a million changes between here and there. Like today,
Hmm.
if all of us on the current world were dropped into Star Trek, we'd probably go insane. But
Oh.
well, because the cultural change happens gradually.
Yeah.
So if you're in a world with everything you could ever want,
Hmm.
why would you
I see. Yeah.
be
It's like everything we know that gives life meaning would be turned upside down.
yeah, yeah.
You know, maybe it's just because I've been forward looking for so long. I've always loved, sci-fi and future technology and what could be. And so I'd like to think that I'd be pretty flexible for any big change in the economy like that. Maybe I've been preparing for it without knowing it, trying to find as much
Yeah.
value as I can in creation and my hobbies and stuff. But yeah, I think probably most
Yeah.
people aren't there.
Yeah. I mean, the you and I with the, comfortable livings and a podcast, like
Hmm.
we both have all of our basic needs met.
Yeah.
In the hierarchy of needs, we have a safe house, we have place to sleep, all the food we need. Like,
Hmm.
we're doing all right.
Yeah.
Um, and so uh, but, this is another topic. I'm not going to get distracted, but like at a certain point in my career, I was like, running and running and running to think like I need to get to a company where there can be a big exit, or
Mm.
I can make a ton of, like, I just need a big break. And
Yeah.
then at a certain point in the, honestly, relatively recently,
Hmm.
I realized, so much better to just have the quality of life now
Oh
and have
yeah.
like have a job that is still very comfortable,
Hmm.
but like just relax a little, like enjoy all the other things.
Yeah. There's no rule that says you have to wait like till you make a lot of money to really start enjoying life.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and I think that's just something that takes some time to learn. Because I went through the same thing. I think a lot of people do. I think it's a
Yeah.
part of maturing. Is like you realize like, oh, you don't need what the commercial world tells you to. You don't need a ton of money and the fanciest place. Um, but there's just so much to enjoy in life, and if you just take the time to stop and enjoy it, to really like soak in the surroundings.
Yeah.
I really like that. Oh, what was it? It was a Pixar movie with like a music teacher.
Soul,
Yes,
the
Soul.
jazz musician. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess his idol, one of his idols, this woman, had this analogy about like this story, a metaphor about a fish that was like swimming around looking for the ocean, and didn't realize that it was all around it.
Yeah.
And it's like that's really what enjoying life is. So many people are trying to look for that thing they need to enjoy life when you can just stop and enjoy it right in the moment. And I think
Yeah.
it takes some time to really get there. And it's one of those things too that you can tell anyone at any age, and they'll agree with you because logically it makes sense. But once you really start to feel it, like I'm tired of running this rat race.
Yeah.
Let me just do something that feels good for once. You finally start to look at life a little differently.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I don't need, you know, like, would it be nice to have millions of dollars? Yes. But can I enjoy life without it too? Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And see
Um,
what you're describing, what we've experienced in our privilege and our comfort,
mm,
is a little taste of the Star Trek economy. Like,
mm.
there are definitively millions and millions of Americans, not even looking around the world, but Americans that have food insecurity,
Oh,
that
yeah.
don't know that they can afford food, that they can find food.
Yeah.
Much less like the unhoused, like they can't
Hmm.
find reliable housing.
Yeah.
And so, there's no way that, without a universal, standard, a basic level of income to take care of these basic needs, there's no way that any of these people could pursue art or
Hmm.
become a doctor or write a
Hmm.
great app. Like,
Yeah.
you're too busy just like fighting,
Oh,
like
yeah.
struggling to stay alive, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of people in that position. Like I think it's more than half of Americans are like below the average well, I guess that makes sense. Below the average income.
Definitively half are below the medium.
Yeah, I think there's a huge percentage of people who are really just getting by. And
Yeah.
I was surprised back when I was making my developer salary. to look up what percentile I fell into, and it was the top
Oh, yeah.
10%, you know.
I mean, that's the crazy making thing. If you go to if anyone goes to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and like punches in, they've got a calculator,
Mm-hmm.
and there are third parties that like collate this and do visualizations, and you can see you punch in like your household income,
Mm-hmm.
and you might be surprised. You could be in the top 5%, 3%,
Oh
might even be
yeah.
in the top 1%
Yeah. Yeah.
of the world. Maybe not of America, but
Sure.
um and then you know, like it's a joke that isn't funny that somebody can make six figures and
Mm-hmm.
still feel impoverished. Like, oh
Right.
well,
Right.
my mortgage is $10,000 a month, and then I have to pay for private school, and that's $5,000 a month, and then I have to pay my car payments, and that's $3,000 a month, and then all of a sudden your
Mm-hmm.
money's gone. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's been a really weird system. I've definitely been at both ends of it, you know, coming up, enjoying a healthy developer salary as a single young man, and then, you know, starting my own business and right back to the bottom, you know.
yeah.
My official income right now is zero. And so, thank goodness I saved up a good amount
Well,
of money before I went back to that, but
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, you know, on your taxes, it's going to be less than zero, you know, because you got your
Oh,
all
yeah,
your
because of the
expenses and
spending.
everything.
Exactly, exactly.
If anyone wants to learn more about sort of universal basic income in general, if you go to staygold.us, co-founder of Stack Overflow has decided to give away the majority of his wealth to try
Wow.
to, you know, actually make America as good as it can be, you know?
Oh,
And
man.
so he's built out a team that's working on guaranteed minimum income in the counties of highest leverage
Hmm.
in the United States. So that's rural counties that he can do the most good with the least amount of money by
Yeah.
guaranteeing universal minimum income, guaranteed minimum income.
The highest
And
leverage. Wow. That immediately makes me wonder how he figured that out, but
well, it's on the website,
oh, okay.
and
Yeah.
I'll put it in the links. So
Awesome.
to tie it to Star Trek, I mean, if all your needs are met, if you don't have to worry about living, sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
breathing, you know, finding friends and comfort,
Mm-hmm.
then you can pursue whatever.
Yeah.
You could be an artist. You could travel the stars, you know, make a
Mm.
beautiful symphony.
Yeah.
Um I have a friend who will probably never listen to this. I haven't talked to in a while, but he made a bunch of money early on out of school. He
Mm-hmm.
sold basically he was a salesperson for copiers,
Mm.
and he made a bunch of money, and then he got into forex, foreign
Mm.
exchange, and he made a bunch of money, and he had a big nest egg as a young man,
Wow.
and he to his credit, he was like, "Oh, I don't really have to work anymore. What do I want to do?" And he thought about it, and then he like changed his life around. He went back to school, he became a medical doctor,
Oh,
and now
wow.
he's a physician. And like
Okay.
if he was running the rat race that whole time, he never would have had the ability to do that.
Yeah. And now he's probably, I mean, he's got to be saving lives.
I hope so.
Wow, that's amazing. This might be a little bit of a shift, but for a little while during the COVID, you know, lockdown, I got involved in the VR community, and there are, you know, lots of different games and things you can play. There are social networks for VR, and there I
Yeah.
met so many different people from so many different walks of life. It was really awesome. But the most interesting thing that I saw was that a lot of people there, for whatever reason, were in a financially stable situation. That doesn't mean they were making great money, but they were at least, you know, getting by, you know, in a way that they still had leisure time,
Yeah.
and didn't really aspire to make much more money. Their motivations weren't making money. It was kind of just like hanging out in VR, you know. It's really interesting. But what that kind of exposed me to was a bunch of people who, you know, if you're not really trying to make a buck and get ahead and you know get to the next thing in life, what do you end up doing with your time? And the people there really were just spending all of their time making friends, hanging out with those friends, exploring those friendships and communities, and just enjoying life that way. And clearly these were people that weren't so concerned about making money, or else they wouldn't be spending all their time there. And I kind of imagine that's probably what could happen in an economy where people aren't concerned with money as much. Maybe they start investing in their relationships and their communities more.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what feels natural, if you don't have those pressures.
Yeah. I agree 100%. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I am so encapsulated in the software startup-y brain rot
Mm,
that it is, as we discussed a moment ago, it's so new to me that
mm-hmm,
I wouldn't be like grinding and trying to progress. Like
mm,
to imagine, friends of mine that, like my friend that's a teacher, like
mm-hmm.
he's doing great stuff. He's he's teaching, he's
Yeah.
inspiring young minds.
Mm-hmm,
He works for the teachers union. Like his work is valuable in the
mm-hmm,
like both economic and like I don't know, humanistic sense.
mm-hmm,
But it's not like he gets his promotion to like senior teacher,
mm-hmm,
principal teacher,
mm-hmm,
super duper teacher. Like
mm-hmm.
he's a teacher.
Yeah.
And that's so alien to me in my like, oh, I got to keep climbing the
Oh,
org chart.
yeah.
I got to like find another startup, blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Like, oh,
Yeah.
it's just so great that that you found some VR friends that are like, we are comfortable. We have enough money for VR and all the
Right.
things we like.
And it made me realize because I that made me kind of reflect a little bit on all the, family I've met in different walks of life who actually were living in similar ways. Not a ton
Hmm.
of them are super well off, but they've got established lifestyles that have worked for them for a long time. And as long as they've got their loved ones with them, they're happy and
Yeah.
they just keep on living that life. It seems very natural, actually.
I know. I'm sure to people that aren't encased in this in this culture, this
Hmm.
worldview that I sort of grew up in professionally,
Yeah.
I'm sure I hope it's obvious to other people. Like, well, of course you would you would not work to live,
Yeah.
or you would not live to
Look,
work,
you're
you would
right.
work to live. Like,
Yeah, yeah. That's actually I guess a slogan that I've really kind of taken to heart too.
mhm,
Because at some point I did realize that I was living to work. I was
yeah.
giving away my life to really get the, best job opportunities possible. Of course that looked like software development at the time. It might look different today, to be honest.
Mhm.
But once I realized that that was kind of the path that I was on, it made me really wonder, like, all right, what would I be doing if I was prioritizing, my life instead of work? And of course, that's when I started looking at dating a little bit more. and who are my real friends and who aren't? I think that's an important
Yeah.
time of life to go through to figure out who do you really get along with, and all of that naturally led to where I am today, which is having started a family.
Yeah.
It's like a very important thing to go through in life, but the hamster wheel can really distract from that. Really.
There's uh the a book, a economic thinking called Donut Economics.
Mm,
And when I first came across this, I was confused. But what it means by donut is, if you imagine, traditional like industrial revolution, 20th century, 21st century economics,
okay.
it's growth at all costs, right?
Mm,
Make the number go up, stock market go up
mm-hmm.
forever, just push to the max. But as we are experiencing currently on this planet, that leads to uh, biodiversity breakdown, climate
Mm,
change, ocean acidification,
yeah.
income inequality. So the donut is this idea that as the economy is growing, there's a green zone, a good area
Okay.
of growth that is not so aggressive,
Mm,
but also not, we still need to grow in order to support um the societies that we have, the people that we have. We have to feed everybody, but like
mm-hmm.
there is a sustainable green ring of
Mm,
growth, and
okay.
that's the donut that they're talking about.
Got it.
And so when, like, I don't know, today SpaceX said, forget about Mars, we're going to go build something on the moon, which is also not going to happen, but whatever.
Oh,
All I can think about, is the donut, because this knucklehead
yeah.
is like, oh, we just burn it all down because we'll figure it out. Technology will take
Mm.
care of it. But like, we don't, for what? We don't need to do that. We can live in the nice donut. We don't have to burn
Yeah.
it all down.
Yeah. I kind of view, progress as this thing that happens imperfectly, especially because you can go so many different ways to accomplish a goal, everyone's going
Mhm.
to have a different opinion on how you get to that goal. But if you do get to that goal, or if you succeed enough, you might be able to look back and patch up some of the things that weren't working great,
Mhm.
Um, there might be some ability to recover, or maybe it becomes a little bit easier to fill in the gaps looking back from having achieved
Mhm.
enough. That's my hope, at least, is that, like,
Yeah.
yes, there's so many things that could be better, but hopefully we'll keep chugging ahead, and then something like AI and quantum computing will immediately solve the microplastics problem, and we'll be better off because of it.
Yeah. No, that is the hope that, like,
Mm-hmm.
in the growth, we will figure out new technologies that fix the problems that we created,
Mm-hmm.
until at some point in the future, we have a Dyson sphere around the sun and
Oh,
infinite
shoot.
energy,
Yeah.
and we're on starships and stuff.
Uh-huh.
The problem for me personally
Uh-huh.
is that along the way there is, like, not infinite,
Mm.
innumerable human suffering,
Mm.
and so,
Is
like,
that avoidable, though?
are you saying, is it?
I I don't think so, because I think with life being as widespread as it is, there are some really dark and heavy, corners of terrible life and suffering. Um,
Yeah.
and I'd like to believe that we could, be in control enough to really prevent all of that. But even with our best intentions, I think that's going to exist somewhere, in many places even. Uh, and
Mhm.
and the question is, do you let that hold you back because you're trying to keep up with that, or do you get ahead enough that you can one day turn around and maybe just eliminate that problem, with much more ease? I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's my, like, optimistic mindset. I don't know if it's realistic, but it's like, if there's suffering out there, or if there has to be suffering out there, which I kind of feel like it's impossible to avoid, then maybe, every bit of progress that's made counts.
Yeah.
It's kind of like any software project, right? They say that no software is 100% bug free. And so if you were trying to achieve 100% bug free the whole time, you might not get anywhere, right?
Yeah. And so what you're describing, in the parlance of donut economics,
Mm-hmm.
is the 20th century economics, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
the growth will clean it up,
Mm.
growth will even it out.
Mm.
We'll find an equilibrium. It'll work itself out. And,
Mm-hmm.
like, I could, I don't know, I don't live in China or India, but I could point at them, and they, for years,
Mm-hmm.
well, still in some capacity, we're like, the outsource the cheap labor or the cheap uh manufacturing there,
Mm-hmm.
and because of the economic ladder, they will eventually climb up, and then they will be, at the same level as the United States was. And
Right. I think we've seen it starting to happen with China.
yeah, I mean, arguably arguably China's ahead of us in some ways. Like,
Mm.
the I I don't think, I wouldn't, I'm speaking for myself, not for the author of Donut Economics, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that, um I wouldn't disagree that, like, yeah, the growth comes and, like, it ladders people up,
Mm-hmm.
but, like, we will never know, because you can't do a A/B test in
True.
global economics. We
Yeah.
won't know if, like, the net outcome and the sum of suffering to get to the current point would have
Mhm.
been better
Mm.
if we had just collaborated and slowed down a little ways. Like,
Mhm.
and maybe it's a fairy tale. Maybe it's just like the Star Trek economy. Like, people could not sit around and just be cool. Like, they would
Mm.
you need people to just grow. But
Yeah.
this is what our donut friend is trying to spread the word about.
I see.
Sustainable growth.
Yeah. In the Star Trek economy, does that hold still? Is there still a lot of things that need to be improved, I guess?
Yeah. Well, the showrunners and creators and executives that run Star Trek kind of lost the thread with the last two series, depending on who you talk to.
Okay.
But if you bail out around Deep Space Nine,
Mhm.
maybe Voyager, yeah, they all figured it out. Like, everybody,
Oh, okay.
they're like, between, I guess a big part of Voyager and Deep Space Nine was like these huge sort of interstellar wars in the background.
Mhm.
So, like, it's not perfect, sort of in between cultures in the
Yeah.
galaxy, but like,
There's
eventually
still
they get
conflict of
there.
some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well. And so maybe we'll have basic needs met, but there'll still be explosions and space battles still.
I mean, that is what some people tune in for.
I have heard that even poverty level today is much better than kings used to live like hundreds of years ago. Like, we've got toilets and plumbing, which apparently
Oh
was a
yeah,
luxury back then.
yeah. I would not. I'm not saying that everybody should. I don't know, go back to the Stone Age, but like, uh, there's we. It's what I started with earlier. Is like, we're already closer to Star Trek than we think in terms
Mm,
of capital.
yeah.
It's not in terms of culture and organization, right? Like,
Mm,
um, the capital exists, like the money
mhm,
exists right now. If we as a nation wanted to just eliminate poverty and have everybody have food, like, it could happen.
mhm.
And some right-wing kook will say, oh, if you did that, people wouldn't want to work anymore, or like it costs too much or something. But like, we pay, I don't know, $1.7 trillion a year for our military. Like, we could peel off a couple $1 million and
Mhm.
we'd be all right.
Yeah, apparently. I heard that some of the money that was saved in that whole Doja effort
Ugh, yeah.
ended up just going to be spent on something else, and it's like no one even noticed. Um,
Yeah.
I'm kind of working with the assumption that it's AI that's going to get us to the Star Trek economy that you're mentioning. Is that the way you envision it too?
Well, so this let me move on to the second sort
Okay.
of leg of the stool. So, like, we talked about like meeting needs and Star Trek economy and like what really motivates people, like what do people want to do.
Yeah.
So there's I think the book is just called Bullshit Jobs.
Mm.
This writer had something of a hit with that, and then he's done some speaking engagements, and he's built sort of a brand. Um, Basically, I read this a long time ago. Basically, like, in the stage of capitalism we are in, where
Mm-hmm.
like so much of manufacturing and production is done by machines or robots or low wage offshore labor.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons and tons of people that don't necessarily add value,
Oh
but
yeah.
you got to have a job.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this criticizing any person.
Mm.
I have a bullshit job. We all have bullshit jobs. Like, we're
Yeah.
all in it together.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many roles that, like, if you really like look deep in your heart and think about what you do on a daily basis, like, you're
Mm-hmm.
not actually
It's
you're not
easy to
actually doing
wonder what
anything.
it adds to the
Yeah,
economy. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's like, depending on the sources you find, it's like a teacher adds like 10x their salary to the economy. A childcare
Oh,
person
okay.
adds like 10x, and like a investment banker subtracts 4x their compensation from the
Oh,
economy. Like,
yikes. Oh man. I'm afraid to know what a software developer does for the
yeah,
economy.
maybe it depends on the software.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The crazy making thing, the thing that turns me from just a slightly like having a flight of fancy about Star Trek to like, what are we all doing here?
Mm-hmm.
Is this like um this bullshit jobs idea, this
Mm-hmm.
this um like just deeply this deep feeling that like what I'm doing with my life professionally
Mm-hmm.
does not add any value. It doesn't help anyone.
In
It
the
does not
grand
improve
scheme of things.
outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure your company values your work very much, but maybe the larger economy might wonder.
I'm not saying I don't like my job and the people I work with. I work at a good company. But really, like, if you took me and I just showed up for like an hour a day and
Mm-hmm.
like sent some emails and sent some Slack messages and connected some tickets,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I don't know. I feel I
Mm.
worry that like it's about the same. Even
Sure.
even in making software, like as a company gets more complex, you make a lot of features,
Mm-hmm.
but which features are the ones that make money? Like, why are people
Mm.
really showing up?
Yeah.
What are you really programming things to
Hmm.
like make money? And do you have to spend all day on it? Like,
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's very easy to wonder. Though I do usually feel better when I see like engagement metrics. If I'm working somewhere where people are actually using the product, that makes me
Yeah,
feel like I'm adding something to someone's life, at least. Not everyone's lives,
yeah.
but someone. There's a small number of people out there who are benefiting from the work I'm doing. Um, if you didn't have to do the bullshit job, do you think you'd be more productive, more contributing more to the economy, to society? By the way, I think
What
your
would I?
job's awesome.
Oh, thanks.
I don't look down on it at all. I don't think it's a bullshit job.
Like I do, I personally, me, like
Uh-huh.
enjoy many things about my job.
Mm-hmm.
Uh but yeah, like if suddenly um there was no money, like if we flashed into the 23rd century,
Mm-hmm.
I I don't know. I I would probably start some sort of like software co-op, I would
Oh,
get people
okay.
I like together and we would brainstorm and build stupid stuff.
Okay.
Not but again, not for money, but like
Mm-hmm.
if all needs were met,
Mm-hmm.
I would still probably play around with computers, but it would just be like, fun and
Yeah, for
exploratory.
the craft of it, for the art.
Yeah.
And then I know you've got hobbies. In the last episode, I think we talked about how you've got your own garden and everything, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Maybe that's something with if money is no object. Maybe you could expand that operation to benefit like a whole neighborhood around you or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who there's even if I don't know, just going to the local like farmers market,
Mm-hmm.
joining the library has a Friends of the Logan Square Library. I could go to their events, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean I can go to their events now, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah, without that pressure, yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. When I really think about what I would do in an economy where I didn't have to worry about money. The funny thing is I actually I feel like I've been working towards that direction this whole time.
Yeah.
Uh I think I would be first a consumer of many different products, the same ones I use today. Technology, software, video games, very into like I mentioned the VR stuff.
Hmm.
Definitely into like mobile apps, music. I'd still be a regular consumer of that. And with that experience, the experiences that I'm having from those and and gaining, and the things that I learned from all of that, I would want to contribute to all of those things as well. And I'm not really a hardware guy. And so the natural way for me to contribute is through software with the skills that I have. And I think that's basically where I'm at today, is like, how do I, focus on making great software, and at the end of the day right now, it's like I do want to make money from it, but I guess I've shifted things around to try and maximize the opportunity for making money from what I am interested in.
Yeah.
I think if money were no object, I'd still want to do the same, though. I'd just be a little less motivated to find something that might make money, and a little more motivated to make an experience that people really love.
Yeah. So you asked, did we get to the Star Trek economy with AI? And
Right.
so in like you and I throughout the episodes, I think have disagreed on the extent of like the current models of what is marketed as AI, like
Mm-hmm.
a large language model. Um, I think this is where I bring it all together. I think a
Mm.
large language model is basically a tool to do more bullshit jobs. So
Oh,
like
okay. Got it.
it is a tool that continues the
Mm-hmm.
current trajectory.
I
We
see.
have people that need jobs, but instead of using people to make these reports,
Mm-hmm.
we'll just use AI
Sure.
without questioning why do we need those reports? And I know
Mm.
it's a cliched observation, they made
Mm-hmm.
a whole movie out of it. You can go watch Office Space. But why why did these things why do you need an LLM to write the email? Take a
Mm.
step back. Why do you need to write that email? Take a step
Mm.
back further. Why why are you even talking about this? What are we doing here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so like I don't think AI that we have now necessarily gets us to like that Star Trek economy.
Yeah.
What I worry about is that what I worry about is that the AI will, as we know it today, as it's marketed today, that the LLMs will put people out of work, will cause anxiety,
Mm.
will force a crisis, and then out of that crisis, I don't have much faith in our current, you know, systems and
Yeah.
culture to address that. Like I don't
Yeah.
imagine America becoming a Scandinavian sort of style socialist country
Mm.
because 30% of our people are unemployed. Like I
Mm.
imagine that goes much worse for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's hard to imagine things transitioning to something better smoothly. Like my if I'm forced to kind of imagine a transition into a different type of economy, a different type of future, I like the optimistic side of me thinks that the best that could happen is like people aren't able to work and they're not able to make a living, so they go back to the skills that they need for survival, like farming, like gardening, like making stuff. Maybe people are like buying and selling chairs and tables, locally again,
So
just
there's like
because that's where
so
the
it's like
access
the
is.
the Hunger
Hmm.
Games. So you have a bunch of impoverished regular folk and a very small group that have a ton of capital.
Oh, I guess there would still be, yeah, a small number of people who are able to afford more. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big Hunger Games fan. I don't know it very well. And so
It's all right.
it's hard for me to draw the connection, but it sounds like it, yeah. And maybe through that time of transition back to something a little more basic, a little more straightforward in terms of survival and needs. Uh, Maybe that's when all of this industrialization starts to pay off in terms of like people need the materials, and they need whether it's like soil and wood, and maybe there's all kinds of plastics and stuff for 3D printing or whatever it might be, and maybe that eventually starts to turn into something a little more comfortable, but it that feels like a very it feels like everything breaks down to build into that new resource and distribution kind of model, you know. Um, I don't see a smooth transition to like that kind of abundance. Uh,
Yeah.
but maybe I'm giving society too little credit because specialization is like humanity's thing, and maybe we don't all need to do it on the local level. Maybe you know, a group of people figures it out in Michigan and then they ship it out to the rest of the country or something, you know. um I just think of the factories back then, but uh yeah, I don't know. What I don't have a ton of faith in is the government suddenly deciding to give everyone $5,000 a month, you know. I don't think that's going
Well,
to
I mean,
happen.
the government, we you can vote for whoever you want.
Uh-huh.
It just takes it'll take a lot of organization. It'll take a lot of protesting. It'll take a
Mhm.
lot of yelling. Um, but like in our lifetime, we've seen, huge public opinion swings. We saw
Mm.
within our lifetime, uh, gay marriage was a hot button issue. Don't ask, don't tell during the Clinton era, and
Mhm.
then now, granted, there's still a lot of cultural, ugh, but
Mm.
you know, gay people can get married. Like
Mhm.
it is more equal.
Mhm.
Um, even just the recent well, I was gonna even before ICE, like through the origin of the Black Lives Matter movement
Mhm.
and the George Floyd riots,
Sure.
COVID, like huge public opinion swings.
Okay.
Um, Granted, there's still a breakdown where like you see these surveys where it's like 80% of Americans support police reform, and then like
Mm.
let's put more police on the streets, and like okay, well that's
Oh,
not what
yeah.
anyone wanted. So
Yeah.
but despair is the tool of the oppressor. That's the quote I was reaching for. Like if
Oh, I like that.
I gotta believe that, like, enough people saying enough things, voting for enough things, like
Mhm.
that'll change. Uh
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, well, so when I mentioned that I think that governments are just like the biggest gang on the block basically, the most powerful group of people. There's a little bit of optimism in that for me too because that means that maybe at some point they're not the most powerful, you know. Whether or not whether they want it or not, there is some chance that as things progress, power becomes a little more widely distributed and people get a little more agency. And maybe to a point that they, you know, we would have to break a lot of existing norms today in terms of like, you know, property lines and ownership and all kinds of things. But maybe at some point people are able to kind of self sustain, you know. And that would fall into line with my kind of idea of everything breaking down and
all
becoming
right.
a little more self or based, more locally based, I guess. What I
Yeah.
also like
I'm
about that is that AI would play well into that too, because AI is kind of a distribution of information, whether it's accurate or not today. But you know, AI would at least help people build those skills, you know, and find those skills a little more easily. It plays really well into that possible breakdown and reform. Sorry, I would cut you off there.
No, I'm thinking inside the box. I'm leaning towards like a Scandinavian style of socialized democracy. But yeah, I pick up what you're laying down. You're like
Hmm.
a, optimistic why do we even need government? Like
Yeah,
they're,
yeah,
you know, good, most people just want to do good things.
yeah.
Why do these systems exist, man?
I mean, it's there's no doubt that government has its own agenda. Government has its own plans, its own concerns, its own goals. And to be honest, I view it a little bit like its own unique kind of community. You know, it's like I mean, you call it a gang or a community. You know, it's it's its own kind of organism. And the truth is, today you have to live with it, right? And you have to find a way to, you know, live in peace with it, you got to pay your taxes, you got to like, get your ID card, you got to do all of that. But maybe there's a point in the future where that becomes less necessary, where like today you need that to have a decent life, but maybe a decent life is just some solar panels and water filters in the future, and you go like off the radar.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's especially now, there's I guess an ongoing discussion writ large about like what do you need to exist in the modern world? Like, do you
Mm,
need a cell phone? Do you need a computer? Do you
mm,
need a smartphone? Do you need a real ID? Do you even
mm,
need an ID? Like,
mm,
what if you just want to vote? Like, is that is it okay?
mm,
Can I just vote, man?
mm,
Uh, and like at a certain point, uh, I don't know. I should do my research. I don't know if it was explicit, but at a certain point, everybody needed a telephone, and so like telephone
mm.
access was a thing that was subsidized that like people had to have.
Okay.
It was just like a baseline, and
Wow.
uh, so in if 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 we look into this anarchic future,
Mm-hmm.
what do we need government for? Like, what do why do you need, I was talking about emails, but why do you need why do you need ID? You need ID
Mm-hmm.
to show it to the man, but like who needs to verify their ID? Like
Mm-hmm.
you're asking the wrong question.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how isolated you can become from that larger system. It also depends on how much people in general are participating in it or not. Because
Yeah.
my assumption is that as if people stop benefiting from it enough, they lose faith in the system. It just stops becoming a thing that people care about.
Yeah.
Especially if they find alternatives that make them more comfortable, like local
Yeah.
communities.
Yeah.
And I do think that power can be distributed in the same way that money can. In the same way
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
plumbing and toilets have been. I think
Yeah.
power and the ability to do things, make things, survive. I think it doesn't have to be so centralized.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I don't know enough about the history, but it sounds like you're describing something like the kibbutz,
Hmm.
the Socialist League of Palestine, and now Israel, I guess. But like
Hmm.
these like self-sustaining voluntary communities.
Hmm.
Uh, I got to do the research on this too. But they
Hmm.
they came together and they self-sustained. They
Hmm.
didn't need uh all the other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of why we participate in the system as it exists today is because there are a ton of things we need from it. We need to be able to buy food and supplies. We need education. I mean, it seems less so these days. um, or rather, the education system as it exists today. Uh, we do still need things from it today, but if those things are not things we need to plug into the system for in the future, if we can access, tools that help us get all of that on our own, why would we want to plug into such an oppressive system, such a like lockdown system, without some huge benefit from it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like get me an Optimus bot, and have that do all of the
Yeah.
labor work for me, grow the plants or whatever, and I'll live happy off the radar. I'll find a cave somewhere and renovate it. All I need is clean water and internet, please. Also, Amazon delivery would be nice. Um,
See,
that's what's gonna
you're
keep
not
me
a
hooked
true
into the
believer.
system.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how to
Amazon
get you.
Amazon deliveries will keep me hooked in.
Oh gosh, you were so close. I thought you were ready to start the revolution, but you're back for same day delivery.
Yeah. We've been talking about this Star Trek economy, this
Yeah.
post-capitalist economy. We're tech lovers and dreamers dreaming about the future. How far off do you think this is?
Well, you can go live in a cave today. Nobody's stopping you.
You got me thinking about
Pretty
it.
tempting. I think there's that push-pull in your what do we call this? Your governance philosophy.
Okay.
I think there's a push-pull between like community
Mm-hmm.
and being self-sustaining, right? Like where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
How do you?
Mm-hmm.
Because even now there are communal communities around the
Sure.
world.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, I watched just a short 8-minute documentary from the public TV station out in Washington State that talked
Mhm.
about this farm that's been running as a communal self-governed organization for I think 60 years now.
Okay. Yeah. We've got small
So
versions of
they
that in Chicago too, like where
oh
entire
really?
blocks have been kind of turned into community farms.
Oh
I've been
wow.
to a couple of events at some of them in my college days.
Oh cool.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know. I read
Mhm.
about some neighborhood associations coming together in Detroit and cultivating the sort of empty spaces
Mhm.
as the city deflated, but I
Yeah.
didn't know people were doing this in Chicago. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, what's really stopping us, right? It's like, I guess
Yeah.
maybe it's our jobs. Our jobs are stopping us.
I think I don't know if this makes sense to anyone else, but I think like, the revolution starts at home. So like
Yeah.
in your life, in your mind,
Mhm.
as we've talked about, start with, disconnecting as much as you can.
Mhm.
Really like evaluating with meaning and mindfulness
Mhm.
the things that you are buying, the things you're participating in. Like
Mhm.
I was making fun of your Prime delivery, but like, do you want to support Amazon? Do you think that is
Mm.
good? Like if you spend money on it, you're, supporting it or
Mm.
not. Like
Mhm.
even we've talked about people dissatisfied with Apple. Like
Yeah.
I'm not there yet, but if I was really dissatisfied, I would go and I'd, get an open source piece of hardware and some Linux and,
Sure.
you know,
Yep.
vote with my feet, vote with my dollars.
Yeah.
Uh, so you can, we can all make a little change to
Mhm.
start to move towards the future.
Mhm.
Whether or not it makes much of a difference, who knows? But at least you'll feel better because
Yeah.
you're taking ownership and agency.
Yeah. Yeah. If I imagine this Star Trek economy, and with there being no limits of what technology has reached, how far it's advanced, I think all I would need is a really awesome spaceship, with some comfortable rooms. It can replicate any amount of water and food that I want.
Yeah.
And then I just separate from society completely and explore the universe. Well, that's not true. I need my social fix, so I'll have to reconnect from time to time.
But you'll come back. You can be the, a nomad out in space and then come back, say hi to your friends and family, check in every so often. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for me to believe that most people wouldn't do that if it were possible. Maybe they'd travel
I
in like groups of friends, but
oh,
I
I
imagine a
don't know.
lot of people would love the freedom if they had the opportunity.
As a kid, I would have told anyone that asked, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an astronaut. But now I don't
Exactly,
know.
yeah.
I like Earth,
Oh,
I
I
like
see.
most
Yeah.
people and I like Earth. So I
Mm.
would probably stay here
But
and
what if you could have I want to say a better Earth, but let's say a place where you don't have to pay taxes or pay for
it's
land.
coming
You
back
just
to that.
yeah. What
Well,
if you had a little more freedom?
if it's the Star Trek universe, I don't think they pay taxes.
Oh,
I got
that's
to do my
right. That's
research
right.
here too. Yeah. I mean, if
Yeah.
that's your sticking point, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe I don't know. Can how much Okay, now we're going to start looking at emigrating to Dubai. I'm pretty sure you don't have to pay taxes there.
wow. Yeah, that's a fair point. If you can live in the system and not owe the system anything, maybe not so bad living in the system.
That's not how systems work though.
Fair. Yeah. Wow. Okay, wait. So what was our estimate for how far off
Oh
this
yeah,
is?
you want to bring it back to a time?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Well, I saved this to the end of the discussion. I got
Okay.
bad news for you because in the Star Trek timeline,
Mm-hmm.
there was a huge global thermonuclear war that destroyed almost all of humanity.
Oh.
About I think 20 years from now in
Uh-huh.
the Star Trek universe. So they had to do that first before they could go to space and build
That
back
was a
better.
necessary step. Okay, I'm gonna
So,
assume the same
yeah,
isn't true
sorry.
for us, but
Yeah, we'll
yikes.
do it better. It's just a story. It's not real.
I did hear in some video or something, a person who was asked like if you could ask someone from the future, someone who solved all of humanity's problems, one question, what would it be? And that person said that they would want to ask, how did you avoid destroying yourselves with the amount of power that technology grants you? And yeah, it's that's gonna be a hard bullet to dodge. But maybe not to. No one wants to, shoot themselves, especially not by accident.
Yeah.
I mean, like we wanna avoid any I think the whole like doomsday clock and like scare that went around the nation at that time. It's hard to imagine that wouldn't happen again if some big existential threat were about to happen, and hopefully great minds would come together to prevent it. I've got my fingers crossed.
I keep, even through this conversation, I keep feeling better and worse. I hate to tell you, but the doomsday clock is still ticking. It recently moved slightly closer to midnight. So,
Oh,
more bad news.
oh man. Hopefully AI saves us. We'll just pray to the
Oh,
AI
God.
gods.
Yeah, between the two of us, we can find an optimistic worldview.
Yes. Thanks for listening to the NSCoder Chicago podcast, and thanks for hanging with us, hanging in there with us on this one. I know it was kind of all over the place. But if you have any thoughts and you'd like to share them, please join us in the YouTube comment section or bring those thoughts to that next NSCoder meetup. We'd love to hear them. My name is David.
And my name's Sean. Thanks so much for listening. I'd love to hear what you think. Now remember, NSCoder is a monthly meetup. Here in Chicago, we meet downtown at Expedia's office on the last Tuesday of every month. You can find more information about us, where to find us, and how to RSVP at nscoder-chicago.com. Then, of course, find us on Meetup. Go to meetup.com and search for NSCoder Chicago, and we'll pop right up. We'd love to see you. All are welcome.
Thanks.
Bye.